For a game that I worked on called Clicker, I was tasked with creating a light radar effect. It would pulse out from the player and illuminate the world little by little, allowing them to navigate. The game was programmed in DirectX, and this video just entails the trials I went through in order to create the final shader effect. With my first attempt at creating the shader, the radar had a very definitive beginning and ending, and when it pulsed out, there were very sharp edges, which didn't look terrible to begin with, but if you look here, you can see it was very completely lit up or not lit up at all, and this was a little bit hard to navigate with. The first iteration of the code for this was very simple. All I had to do was calculate the distance that the pixel was away from the center of the radar pulse, and if it fell within that minimum or maximum range, I had it lit up. I was able to calculate this effect with two point light calculations. The max distance being a positive point light calculation where the inside of the range would be illuminated, and the minimum distance being an inverse point light calculation where the outside would be illuminated. When I multiplied these effects together, the inside would turn black and the outside would turn black, illuminating only the ring of the minimum and maximum. This was hard to navigate with because you didn't have any in between. Either you saw the object or it was completely black. So my next step I thought would be to create a fading effect, so that as the radar moved out, you got a little bit of a fade on the inside. So the minimum would not be a hard line, but would instead have a fade, allowing you to navigate a little bit easier. As you can see, this effect looked better. It didn't require a very significant computational increase, but definitely looked better and made the world easier to navigate through. And because this fade effect felt so much better than the previous effects, I decided to try to take it a step further. So I began working on a double-sided fade effect that would actually fade out and disappear slowly over time as opposed to cut out sharply when it reached its max distance. The end result was a light pulse radar effect that permeated through the world in a very natural way. People thought it looked much better and felt more natural than any of the other previous effects. Now the math for this shader became a little bit more complicated because in order to create the double-sided fade effect, it mattered how far away the pixel was both from the minimum and maximum values of the radar. So my final implementation of the radar effect only required one if statement. I calculated how far away the pixel was from the minimum value, and then after it surpassed its max illumination value, I then switched to the max value, which would then decrease over time, creating the double-sided fade effect. The final effect looked great. We really enjoyed the way it permeated through the world and did a really good job illuminating the environment in a unique and interesting way.